I felt the needle pierce my dry skin as the nurse adjusted the IV. "Mrs. Margaret, you need to stay better hydrated," she said, with that overly sweet voice people use when they think you're becoming senile. I was 72, not 172. A simple fainting spell from dehydration, and suddenly everyone was acting like I was on death's door. Before I continue, tell me in the comments which city you're reading this story from, and if you've ever experienced something similar. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stories like this one. I stared at the white ceiling of Boston Memorial Hospital, counting the water stains to pass the time. 5, 6, 7 stains. 7 stains that seemed to stare back at me, as if they knew what was coming. The noise from the machines around me was irritating, but not as much as the look from Jennifer, my daughter, who alternated between concern and something I couldn't identify at the time. Something like satisfaction. "Mom, you can't keep living alone in that huge house. Look what happened. If Mrs. Wilson hadn't come by with those farm-fresh eggs you ordered, who knows how long you would have been lying unconscious on the kitchen floor." "It was just a dizzy spell, Jennifer. I forgot to drink water after water aerobics. It's not the end of the world." "You're 72 years old, Mom. You need to accept that some things change." I felt a twinge in my chest that had nothing to do with dehydration. It was that feeling when you realize your own child starts talking to you like you're a child. That ma'am loaded with false reverence, hiding the certainty that you're no longer capable. I was a math teacher for 45 years. I built my house brick by brick with Robert, my husband, who passed away 8 years ago. I managed our savings with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker. We never missed a bill, never needed financial help. When Robert passed, I transferred everything to my name and continued managing everything on my own without a single mistake. The doctor entered the room, looked at my chart, and smiled. "Mrs. Margaret, looks like it was just a scare. You can go home tomorrow morning, but you need to increase your fluid intake, especially during these hot summer days in Boston." "See, Jennifer, I told you. It was just carelessness." My daughter smiled, but her eyes didn't. Her eyes were still calculating something. The next day, I returned to my house in Beacon Hill. Jennifer insisted on staying with me for a few days, despite living only 20 minutes away. I found it strange, since she and Lisa, her wife, rarely had time for extended visits. The two were always busy with the construction company they ran together. 3 days passed. I was completely recovered, religiously drinking my 2 liters of water daily, when Jennifer entered the living room accompanied by a man in a suit. "Mom, this is Mr. Matthews from Northeastern Bank. He's here to discuss an important matter." I frowned. "What matter? I've had my account at the same bank for 40 years and never needed anyone to come to my house." Jennifer sat beside me, holding my hands with that gesture she always used as a child when trying to convince me of something. "Mom, after what happened, we need to think about protecting you. It's just a temporary power of attorney so I can help in case of an emergency. It's just a precaution." I looked at the document the man placed on the coffee table. Power of attorney. The words hung in the air like a bad omen. "I don't need any power of attorney, Jennifer. I'm perfectly capable of—" "Mom," she interrupted me with that soft voice she used with difficult clients. "It's just temporary. Think if you need to be hospitalized again and there are bills to pay, decisions to make. I just want to help." Something inside me hesitated. A primitive instinct of self-preservation, perhaps. But then I looked at my daughter, that girl I had taught to walk, to read, to whom I had given everything, and the doubt dissipated. How could I distrust her? "All right," I finally gave, in taking the pen the man offered me. "But it's really temporary, right?" "Of course, Mom. It's just for your safety." I signed the document in triplicate. The bank man kept 1 copy, gave another to Jennifer, and left the third with me. After he left, my daughter hugged me tightly. "You'll see how everything will be easier now." A week later, I noticed my credit card wasn't in my wallet. I searched everywhere until I remembered that Jennifer had asked to take a look at my accounts. "Jennifer, have you seen my Northeastern bank card?" She was arranging some things in the kitchen and answered without looking directly at me. "Oh, Mom, I organized your accounts. From now on, we'll simplify things. You don't need to worry about cards, passwords, and all that confusion. I opened a joint account and will deposit a monthly amount for your expenses." I stopped in the middle of the living room, feeling the floor disappear beneath my feet. "What do you mean monthly amount?" "Jennifer, the money is mine. I don't need an allowance." "It's not an allowance, Mom. It's monthly support." She smiled as if she were doing me a favor. "You won't have to worry about investments, bills, none of that. I'll take care of everything. But I've always managed my finances. Your father and I." "Dad isn't here anymore, Mom. Times have changed. Everything is digital now. It's more complicated. You deserve to rest." Rest? I wasn't tired. I was alive, lucid, and perfectly capable of managing my own money. But something in her tone made me back down. It wasn't the time for that discussion. That night I couldn't sleep. Something was wrong, very wrong. I got up in the middle of the night and went to my office. I opened the bank's website on the computer, but my password no longer worked. I tried calling the bank the next day, but was informed that my account was now joint and that Jennifer was the primary administrator. And you? What would you do if your own daughter started controlling your life without your consent? The following days were a silent nightmare. Jennifer smiled, brought groceries, made small talk, but every time I brought up the subject of my finances, she masterfully deflected. "We'll talk about that later, Mom. Now let's have some coffee." Lisa, Jennifer's wife, also started appearing more frequently. The two whispered in corners. One afternoon, while I pretended to take a nap on the porch, I overheard a snippet of conversation. "The house is worth at least $1.5 million, Jennifer. It's a huge lot in this neighborhood. You could build an entire building here." "No, honey, but we need to take it slow. She's still very attached to this place. But you already have the power of attorney, don't you? We can start testing the market." "Shh, we'll talk about this later." I felt a chill run down my spine. Was that it? My own daughter wanted to take possession of my house? The house I built with so much sacrifice with Robert. That night, while they dined out, I went through my documents. The power of attorney I signed wasn't temporary at all. It was a comprehensive power of attorney that gave Jennifer authority to manage all my assets, including alienating properties. Alienate. The word echoed in my mind like a sentence. Sell, transfer, take away from me. I felt a lump in my throat and growing anger. How could I have been so naive? How could I have trusted so blindly? Years teaching young people to think critically, and I had failed to apply that lesson to my own life. I grabbed an old recipe notebook that Jennifer would never look at. My daughter never had any interest in cooking, and began to record everything. Dates, conversations, decisions made without my consent. I tore out some pages from the middle and created my diary of evidence. The next day, Jennifer arrived with a brochure for a retirement home in Cambridge. Mom Lisa and I visited this place yesterday. It's wonderful. It's like a resort. It has a pool, daily activities, 24-hour medical assistance. I don't want to go to any retirement home, Jennifer. Not right now, Mom. It's just for you to get to know, to think about the future. This house is too big. It's a lot of work. You deserve a place where you can be taken care of. I smiled, pretending to consider the idea. while internally my heart raced with confirmation of my suspicions. They wanted to get me out of here. They wanted my house. I'll think about it, honey, but I'm not in a hurry. That night I waited for everyone to fall asleep and called the only person who could help me. My nephew Michael, my sister's son, who lives in Portland. We hadn't spoken regularly in years, but we always maintained a special affection. He's a digital security specialist, working for a large company in New York. Aunt Margaret, are you okay? What a surprise to get your call. At this hour, I told him everything in whispers, afraid of being overheard. I told him about the fainting spell, the power of attorney, the control of my accounts, the plans for the house. Aunt, this is serious. This is financial elder abuse. It's a crime. You need legal help, but first we need to gather evidence. You check statements, transactions? No, Jennifer changed all the passwords. I don't have access to anything. I understand. Look, I'll catch a flight to Boston tomorrow. Don't mention to anyone that we spoke. Keep acting normally. I hung up the phone, feeling for the first time in weeks a glimmer of hope. I wasn't alone in this fight. The next morning, Jennifer announced she needed to return to her home for a few days. I have important meetings at the construction company, Mom, but I'll be back on the weekend to continue looking into that retirement home issue. I nodded, feigning docility. As soon as she left, I called Michael, confirming the house would be empty. He arrived that same afternoon. Aunt Margaret, he hugged me tightly, his eyes watery. Are you really okay? I'm alive and lucid, my boy. That's enough to fight. Michael brought a laptop and got to work. With his technical knowledge, he managed to recover access to my personal email and from there, reset some account passwords. What we discovered was shocking. Aunt, look at this. Jennifer created a company called Margaret Asset Management LLC. You're listed as the majority partner, but she's the only one with access to the company's bank account. What company? I never opened any company. And there's more, Michael continued, showing me the computer screen. She transferred $380,000 from your investments to this company in the last 20 days. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. $380,000. A significant part of a lifetime of savings, money that Robert and I had saved with such sacrifice, thinking of ensuring a peaceful old age. How could she? My voice failed, choked by the betrayal that seemed even crueler seeing the numbers on the screen. With the power of attorney you signed, she has the authority to do this. But this is clearly financial abuse against an elderly person, Aunt. We need to act quickly. Michael called a lawyer friend who specialized in elder rights. Within hours, Miss Diana Parker was in my living room, listening attentively to my story and analyzing the documents Michael had managed to gather. Mrs. Margaret, we have a solid case of financial abuse here, but we need to act strategically. Let's not confront your daughter yet. Let's continue gathering evidence and preparing the legal action. And in the meantime, she continues to have access to my money. We'll create safeguards. First, I'll update your will, creating a trust that will protect your assets. Second, we'll initiate a confidential process to nullify the power of attorney. Third, we'll legally block any attempt to sell this house. As the lawyer spoke, I felt increasingly stronger. The feeling of helplessness was being replaced by an iron determination. I want everything back, Miss Parker, every penny, and I want my autonomy back. You will have it, Mrs. Margaret, but we need to be patient and strategic. Your daughter is also a lawyer, correct? Yes, she graduated but never practiced. She works at the construction company with her wife. I understand. We'll prepare everything with the utmost care then. In the following days, while Jennifer was busy with her work, Michael installed small security cameras at strategic points in the house. Miss Parker prepared all the necessary legal documents: the revocation of the power of attorney, the petition for dissolution of the fraudulent company, the request for restitution of the values, and the update of my will. Jennifer returned at the weekend, as promised, bringing more retirement home brochures and news that made my blood boil. Mom, we're organizing a special Mother's Day lunch 2 weeks from now. We're going to invite the whole family and some close friends. We want to announce your new phase. New phase? I asked, keeping my voice controlled. Yes, your move to Sunshine Living. We've already started the paperwork. You're going to love it. It has a beautiful garden where you can grow your plants. I smiled, while inside I planned every detail of my counterattack. How wonderful, honey. It's going to be an unforgettable lunch, I'm sure. And it would be, but not for the reasons Jennifer imagined. The 2 weeks that followed were an exercise in patience and strategy. Jennifer came and went, increasingly excited about the lunch preparations and my supposed move. During one visit, she arrived accompanied by a real estate agent who just wanted to take a quick look at the house, no commitment. I pretended not to understand the gravity of the situation. I served coffee, smiled, showed the rooms. The man couldn't stop talking about the excellent construction potential of the lot and how the location is privileged for a high-end development. Jennifer smiled, looking around as if she no longer saw me there, as if the house was already hers. "How much do you think the property is worth?" I innocently asked the agent. "Well, Mrs. Margaret, at the very least, about $2 million, but for a construction company interested in the lot, it could reach 2.5, maybe more." I saw Jennifer's eyes sparkle. $2.5 million. That was the price of my dignity to my own daughter. That night, while they dined in the living room, I went to my bedroom and called Michael. "Everything's ready," he assured me. Miss Parker confirmed all documents are prepared. We have proof of the transfers, recordings of compromising conversations, and witnesses who saw Jennifer and the agent. On Sunday's lunch, we'll be there as planned. "I'm afraid, Michael," I confessed, in a rare moment of fragility. "She's my daughter. And you're my aunt, whom I love and respect. What Jennifer is doing is wrong. It's criminal. You deserve your life back." I hung up the phone with a heavy heart, but determined. What hurt the most wasn't the betrayal itself, but realizing that perhaps Jennifer had always seen me just as a means to her ends. How many years of that affection were sincere? How many were just a facade? And you, have you ever felt the pain of discovering that someone you love was just waiting for the right moment to betray you? Sunday arrived sunny, typical of Boston's fall. Jennifer and Lisa arrived early, bringing catered food and setting the table in the garden. Gradually, the guests arrived, some cousins, old neighbors, friends from the construction company. Michael arrived with his wife and children, hugging me at length, a hug that carried a silent message of strength. When everyone was served and seated, Jennifer asked for attention by gently tapping a spoon against her glass. "Dear family and friends, thank you for being here on this special day. We're gathered not only to celebrate Mother's Day, but also to celebrate a new phase in my mother's life." She looked at me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "As you know, Mom had a small health scare recently. Nothing serious, thank God, but enough to make us rethink some things. And it's with great joy that we announce that starting next month, she'll be living at Sunshine Living, a wonderful place where she'll have all the support and comfort she deserves." I looked around and saw smiling faces, nodding in approval. Except for Michael and his family, no one seemed to find it strange that I was being announced without having a voice. "Furthermore," Jennifer continued, "we're finalizing the sale of this house where Mom lived for so many years with my father. It's a difficult decision, of course, but necessary. The value of the sale will guarantee her comfort for the coming years and—" "Jennifer," I interrupted calmly, placing my napkin on the table. "Do you mind if I say a few words too?" She seemed momentarily disconcerted, but soon recovered her artificial smile. "Of course, Mom. It's your party, after all." I rose slowly, feeling all eyes on me. My voice came out firm, without trembling. "I want to thank all of you for your presence on this special day. Special not because I'm going to a retirement home or because this house will be sold. None of that is going to happen." Jennifer's smile froze on her face. Lisa choked on her wine. "Special because today is the day I take back control of my life." I signaled to Michael, who stood up and handed an envelope to Jennifer. "What is this?" she asked, no longer able to disguise her nervousness. "Open it," I replied simply. With trembling hands, she opened the envelope and began reading the documents. Her face gradually lost its color. "That's right, Jennifer. The power of attorney you made me sign has been judicially annulled. The company you created in my name, without my knowledge, has been dissolved. And there's a criminal case for financial elder abuse in progress." The table fell into complete silence. Some guests exchanged confused glances. Others seemed embarrassed. "Mom, this is absurd. I was only trying to protect you, take care of your future." "Take care of my future?" I kept my voice controlled, despite the indignation growing inside me. "By transferring $380,000 of my savings to a company I didn't even know existed? Planning to sell my house without my real consent? Treating me like an incapable child?" Jennifer looked around, seeking support among the guests, but finding only discomfort and disapproval. "You don't understand," she tried to defend herself. "Mom is confused. She needs care. After that fainting spell—" "Your mother is perfectly lucid and capable." Ms. Parker's voice was heard. She had arrived discreetly during my speech and now approached the table. "We have medical and psychological reports that attest to this. What we have here is a classic case of family financial abuse." Jennifer rose abruptly, knocking over her chair. "This is ridiculous. You can't do this to me. I'm a lawyer. I know my rights." "And I know mine," I replied, now allowing my voice to convey all the pain and disappointment I felt. "I know I have the right to my autonomy, my money, my house, and my choices. Something you tried to take from me, Jennifer." Lisa, who until then was in shock, pulled Jennifer by the arm. "Let's go. Now." Before they left, I handed Jennifer another envelope. "What is this now? More accusations?" "No, it's the deed to the house. I sold it last week." The astonishment on her face was almost comical. "Sold? What do you mean, sold? To whom?" "To a foundation that will transform it into a cultural center for seniors. The value of the sale was transferred to a trust that only I can access. Michael is the executor in case something happens to me." Jennifer looked at me as if she didn't recognize me. Perhaps she never really knew me. "Why are you doing this to me, Mom?" The question hit me like a blade. It was so typical of her to invert the situation, to cast herself as the victim. "I'm not doing anything to you, Jennifer. I'm just protecting myself. As you said yourself, I need to think about my future." She left, dragging Lisa without saying goodbye to the guests. A few minutes of awkward silence followed until my longtime neighbor, Mr. Allen, raised his glass. "To Mrs. Margaret, the bravest woman I know." The toasts continued, along with hugs of support and words of admiration. Michael remained by my side throughout the lunch, which continued in a lighter mood, despite the elephant in the room that was the absence of my daughter. In the weeks that followed, my life underwent a complete transformation, but this time under my control. I found a comfortable apartment in the Back Bay neighborhood with a small terrace where I could grow my plants. It was close to Michael's house, who now visited New York only for work, having decided to move back to Boston to be closer to me. The legal proceedings against Jennifer followed their course. She tried to counterattack, claiming I was under Michael's influence and that I wasn't mentally capable of making decisions. But the medical reports and evidence were compelling. In the end, the judge not only declared the power of attorney null but also ordered the full return of the diverted funds, with interest and monetary correction plus legal costs. The scandal hit the reputation of Jennifer and Lisa's construction company hard. Several clients canceled contracts, not wanting to be associated with a company whose owners were accused of financially exploiting an elderly person. Within a few months, the company closed its doors. I learned from mutual acquaintances that Lisa abandoned Jennifer in the middle of the crisis, claiming she hadn't signed up for this and didn't want her name associated with the scandal. Jennifer was alone, without a company, without a wife, without the inheritance she planned to take. With part of the money from the sale of the house, I created a scholarship for low-income students at the public school where I taught for so long. The scholarship bears the name of Robert, my late husband, who always believed in the transformative power of education. My routine is my own again. I wake up early, have my coffee on the balcony watching the street activity, take my morning walk, visit the children at the public school where the scholarship was implemented, and sometimes give volunteer math tutoring. I have weekly dinners with Michael and his family, go to the movies with my old school friends, and even started a watercolor painting course, something I always wanted to do, but never found the time. 6 months after the fateful lunch, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Jennifer. "Mom, I need to see you. Can we talk?" I felt a tightness in my chest. Despite everything, she was still my daughter. "Where?" "At the cafe near your apartment. Tomorrow at 3? "I'll be there." I arrived at the cafe punctually at 3. Jennifer was already there, sitting at a table in the corner. She looked haggard, thinner, with deep dark circles. Something inside me wanted to hug her, comfort her as I did when she was little and had a nightmare. But that little girl no longer existed. Before me was an adult woman who had made conscious choices. "Thank you for coming," she said when I sat down. "What do you want, Jennifer?" "I lost everything, Mom. The company went bankrupt. Lisa left me. I'm living in a tiny apartment in Somerville. I'm starting from scratch." I nodded, showing neither satisfaction nor pity. "I know I was wrong," she continued. "I shouldn't have done what I did, but I thought I was protecting you." "No, Jennifer, you didn't think that. You saw an opportunity and tried to take advantage of it. If you really wanted to protect me, you would have talked to me, respected my decisions, helped me maintain my independence. You wouldn't have treated me as incapable." She lowered her eyes, unable to sustain my gaze. "What do you want from me now, Jennifer?" "Money." "No. I mean, maybe a loan to start over, but what I really wanted was to ask for your forgiveness and to know if there's any chance of us becoming a family again." I looked at my daughter for a long moment. Was there sincerity in her request? Or was it just another manipulation? Impossible to know for sure. "You continue to be my daughter, Jennifer. That will never change. But you are no longer my legacy." "What does that mean?" "It means I can't pretend nothing happened, that I can't trust you like before. I'm willing to keep in touch, maybe have lunch occasionally, but with very clear boundaries. As for money, no. I will never mix family with finances again." Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time since everything began, they seemed like genuine tears. "And forgiveness?" I sighed, feeling the weight of that question. Forgiveness is a process, not an event. Maybe someday I'll be able to forgive completely. For now, I'm working on it. We finished our coffee in silence. When we said goodbye at the door, There was a brief and awkward hug. It wasn't a happy ending, but perhaps it was an honest new beginning. I returned to my apartment, turned on the terrace lights, and went to check my small cherry tomato pots that Michael had helped me plant. The first fruits were beginning to appear, still small but promising. The next morning I received a visit from some children benefiting from the Robert Thompson Scholarship. They came to show me their first semester report cards, all with excellent grades in mathematics. We served cake and juice and spent the afternoon talking about their dreams and plans for the future. One of the girls, Julie, only 10 years old, asked me how I had managed to overcome so many difficulties in life and still remain strong and independent. I thought for a moment, recalling everything I had gone through in recent months. I didn't react, Julie. I rose up, and I never let anyone sit me down again. The girl smiled, not fully understanding the meaning of my words, but feeling the strength behind them. Perhaps one day, when facing her own challenges, she would remember what I said. Life follows its course, with its joys and sorrows. I'm 73 years old now, and for the first time in a long time, I feel I have complete control over my destiny. I don't know how much time I have left, but I know that each day will be lived on my own terms, with my own choices. This is my story. A story of betrayal, but also of overcoming, of pain, but also of rebirth. If it touched you in some way, like and share it with someone who needs to hear this, because sometimes we need to remember that it's never too late to rise up.